All right, so we'll start here maybe in a couple minutes just to give people some time to open their computers. But I see we already have a great turnout. Happy to be here today. I already see you guys active in the chat, so I guess I'll take some time right now to answer what I can see here. So I've got one from Surtech. He says, can you touch on sharing drawings and measurements made in MeasureSquare with people who don't have the software? That's definitely something that we offer. There's a couple different ways to do it. We have, PDFs that we can generate that'll have the floor plan on there, as well as some other information if you would like to include it. And that does come out as a PDF, so anyone would be able to access that when you send it out. We have a few different sharing options, including email. You can save it as a file to send out, or you can email it straight from your app, whatever app you're using. Apple Mail works pretty well. We also do Outlook and Gmail, but yeah, there's a few different options there, as well as our 3D viewer, which if you have your project synced to the app, that'll be available. And then it's just a URL, a web link. They can open it up in Google. They can open it up in Safari, whatever they need, Firefox. But I'm joined today with Kevin Lim. He's going to be in here helping me in the chat. So if you guys have any questions throughout our webinar, you can always just message him or message me. We do have some time after my demonstration where I will jump into some questions and answers for you guys. So we'll get to as many as we can. And then if we do need to follow up via email, then we can do that as well. So we definitely want to make sure that we can answer everyone's questions. And then for the webinar, since there are so many of you guys, we can't really have everyone with their microphones on, so we do have those silenced. So if you're speaking into, I'm not going to be able to hear you. So please just type anything that you need my attention in the chat, and then we'll do our best to get to you. So for those of you who we haven't met, my name is Austin. I've been with the company for about 3 years now. And during that time, I've been a support specialist, I've been a trainer, and now I have the opportunity to do these lovely webinars as part of the things that go into my role here at MeasureSquare. And today we're going to be touching on a few different topics. So if I can just move my screen over, hopefully everyone can see that. We'll go to some of the topics that we have for today. So as part of our level 2 course, I'm going to be talking a little bit about our multifamily subscription. So this is a upgraded license from the basic plan that includes the ability to import plan sets, and it also allows you to separate your estimation by tab. So those are both some pretty valuable aspects that we have, but mostly what I'm going to be talking about will apply to everyone. So just really the first part is going to be that multifamily. So part of that is the importing, scaling, and then using our dimension tool. So ideally, you can do like a simple plan set, for multifamily, simple multifamily plan, and then you can scale it with our calibration tool. If you have some dimensions on the plan, or you can use a doorway, as I'll show you in today's example. And then you can use the dimension tool just to double check, make sure that everything's going to be right about the same size as we're expecting, so that we can get that accurate estimation. Aside from that, we're going to cover some details on stairs and stair templates, how we use those, where to put those in the plan, and then we'll also be looking at walls. So we are flooring first, but we do also have a 3D representation. We can do backsplashes, accent tile on the walls, showers, things like that. So we'll just take a brief look into that, and then also a brief intro to patterns as they are in our mobile program. So we do have another program for our Windows operating systems, MeasureSquare 8, that can do a little bit more with patterns, but we do also have them in here. So I do want to share that with you. And then lastly, we'll finish up with some markups and annotations. So we have a note tool, and we have, it's called our handwriting tool, and I don't see it used a whole lot. So I'm thinking that could be some really valuable information to help with the communication for important areas inside the takeoff. Our MeasureSquare Mobile application, it's best used on iPad. It's great for field reps and estimators, and it can be used in kind of like an office environment if you've got that plan set, but it can have some great value if you have some regular on-site measures as well. So we try to keep things simple. We understand, a lot of people are coming from pen and paper. They already know how to do everything. It takes a lot of effort to learn something new. So we want to make that transition as smooth as possible, and we want to make it easy, right? A lot of times you're going to be in the home with the client, and you're not going to want to have your attention diverted as much as possible. You want to be in and out of there. So in an effort to do that, we've made our program pretty streamlined. It's an easy to learn workflow. It is left to right, so that goes a long way. It is available offline. So when you're out there in the field, you don't have to worry about dead spots. You don't have to worry about Wi-Fi access. All you really need to do is have internet, just one, to make sure that you're logged in, and then two, also for syncing anything that you have to our cloud. And we'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. So most of our operations are drag and drop. So it's really intuitive controls. You can just bring a product in from your product menu, drag it into a room. You can see the different areas that it highlights as it goes along. You can drag and drop your seams, manipulate your layout. Everything is pretty intuitive with the touch controls. And then we also have some customizable view options. So with this one, it's really easy to go from an informative takeoff for your installers to something more presentable for your clients. So we'll show you how to turn on and off some of those options. They're really all in the same area. So that's really nice that we have. And then generating the reports as well. So that's an important part of any job, is getting the details for the customer, getting that signature, making sure that everyone's on the same page. So here we have some more information about our cloud, MeasureSquare Cloud. So it is hosted by Microsoft Azure. It's really great to have that peace of mind because they have a 99.9% uptime. Really, you can't find or ask for anything better. So the idea here is to make sure you back up all your information into MeasureSquare Cloud. That way, if anything happens, if your iPad is lost or damaged, you can replace it, and not only replace the hardware, but also all of those jobs that you've been, painstakingly taking, and their hard work will stay with you. But in addition to your projects, you have a few other things that you can sync. You can sync your catalogs, and you can sync some system settings. So in your system settings, you can save things like your manage lists for your notes. So if you type something in, you don't have to type it in twice, especially if it's a common occurrence, like terms and conditions. You can save some templates. So anything from showers, cabinets, room templates, stairs, you can get those all taken care of, so you can use those pretty frequently, and without having to set it up each time. And let me show you. Here we'll jump in to the demonstration portion, and I'll share with you a few different areas to find that information. So I'm just going to switch my screen. We'll go to my iPad over here. And what I have open is just a simple diagram that I did just for today's purposes. So we were talking about sync earlier. So right at the top, I have my pointer here just to kind of help out. You have our sync button. So if you sync, you'll get this. As long as you're connected to internet, one of the few times that you need to be, should go by pretty quickly. The more often you do it, the less data will need to transfer, and the easier and faster that process will go. So bare minimum, we recommend, at the beginning of the day, before you leave the office, just go ahead and sync it. And then at the end of the day, when you return, make sure that you upload all your work for what you did that day. That would be the most simple case to get you the longest way. But you can also, if you have, I know some of you are out there with the 5G connection, you can even do that after every job. So in the middle of your day, if something happens, not only did you save everything that you just worked on, but it shortens that potential where you could have to go and do maybe like a day or 2 days worth of work. You can really have that as an image. So we'll go into here. So that was the first area that you can sync. On the other side, you have your account information, just with that portrait icon. If you go down, you have some system settings. You can also, we'll tell you more about our support, but we really do have a great team here. Please give us a call if you need us. And everything, all the information on how to contact us is built right into the program. But in our system settings, there's a couple different places. So we said projects, we said system settings, and we said product catalogs are all the different things that you can sync. One of them is on the home page. That's all your projects. And then from here, you have your product catalogs, and then you also have your sync settings. So catalogs is pretty easy. I've got a bunch of different catalogs just because we've been working with a lot of different companies, both internal and external, helping them out. So if you sync here, that'll sync your catalogs, and then you can share those with your teammates. And then as long as they're all synced up, they'll have access to the latest and greatest. That can really help out with new hires, getting them started, and the same with your system settings. So here you can upload your system settings to the cloud, and then you can also download the system settings from the cloud just to restore if you made a change that you weren't happy with, or for some reason they got reset, whatever you need, you have that availability there as well. And then jumping into this project, let's see. Jumping into the project here, we've got our dashboard. So the first thing that you see is the outline of the diagram, and then you have the option to add in some customer and job site information. Everything else from here is kind of an overview. So we don't recommend putting anything else in here besides the customer and job site. And then you'll just tap in that top area to access your takeoff. So I have some stuff drawn out just to kind of help speed us up for today. But the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to learn how to get this imported in to begin with, right? So I have it here. This is kind of what it looks like from scratch. So I'll go ahead and I will delete this, and we'll show you. Here's our left to right workflow, nice and easy. Under tools, at the very bottom, when you have the upgraded version, so this is for the multifamily, when you go into import image, I have it in my photos, so I'll choose from photos. You can also choose from files. We'll come in here, we'll find what we need. I have, let's see, I believe it's this one. Actually, could be in a different area. You know what? This is a different one. So here's another technique I'm going to share with you. So if we go back to our other tab, I can do a long press. So this is one of those controls that you might not find an option for. I'm just going to click and hold or tap and hold. I can copy this image. We can go to the second floor, and then we can paste this image in. So I do want to show you the import process. So I will add in that other the other image just so we can see that in action. So import image, we're going to choose from the photos. Here's kind of another floor plan that I was messing around with the other day. But you can see this is an image. We can rotate it, or we can crop it right out the gate. I think this is fine for now. We'll just go ahead and tap on done, and there it is. Really straightforward. After we have it in, if we tap on it, we get this information icon, and then we can come in here, and this is where we can set the scale. So there's an option for that. We just want to make sure that everything's great. But before that, I want to take a look at what I have available to me. So I don't see any blueprint scale types. I don't see any dimensions on here. I have a few different walls that have doors of varying sizes, but I want to do one that I'm pretty confident I'm going to get an accurate read on. So if I come into the pantry, or maybe not the pantry, maybe the powder room is going to be, actually I see the door swing here, so I know this is probably going to be more accurate. So I'm going to do 3 feet across here as just as a typical door. And I really want to zoom in just to make sure I'm getting the most accuracy that I can get. And there's a couple things that are going to happen. I'm going to just drag and drop, again, that simple, intuitive touch control. And I'm going to do 2 points. One, just A to B, right? And it's going to tell me the actual size is 3'3", but I know that it's closer to 3 feet exactly. So that could be off right out the gate. It can be, like 1 foot, it could be 12 feet, whatever the information is on that image. And then you're just going to tell it what it actually is. So that's pretty important. So then you get this message, scale has been successfully set. So now that it's imported and it's scaled, now we can come in and we can just check a couple dimensions. So if we happen to know any off the top of our head, we'll go into tools. Under markup and annotations, we have our dimension tool. So we're going to tap on that there. Again, we have kind of that drag and drop utility. So I'm going to pinch to zoom. And here's another entrance, right? So it should be just about 3 feet. So we'll do A to B just to double check. This is now 3'6". So now maybe I'm second guessing myself on this, right? So maybe just storage, just because it's a storage, maybe it's not what I wanted to be calibrating everything else to. Here's another one that should probably be 3 feet, and that's 3'6", 3'7". Yeah, so I'm actually glad I double checked in this case. So we'll just get rid of our markers real quick, and then we'll just rescale it. Not really a big deal. It goes by pretty quick. Zoom in for accuracy. Go from one side of the door to the next. 3'7". That tracks. We're just going to go for 3 feet. Scale set successfully, so I know that it took that information that I just gave it. And then just as a final time, we're going to go back and we're going to measure. This should be 3 feet. Yep. And then this should be a little less. Great. So now we're ready to start. We've got imported, we've got it scaled, and we've checked the dimensions. So again, with our left to right, we're going to finish everything inside tools before moving on to products, before moving on to our estimate. But in the interest of time here, I am going to switch over to my completed tab, and we're going to kind of focus on some other things. So we mentioned templates earlier. I'll just go to our catalog as a baseline. So if you go to products and you go to catalog, you can see all of the materials, your labors, and your services that you have over here. At the very bottom, we have some more options. We'll go to objects, and this is going to be where you have all of your templates. So we do have doors, right? We can drag and drop these in wherever they need to go. You can have that template. So you can show the door swing, but they should all estimate the same. So it's not super important. It's more of a presentation thing, but we do have those options there for you. We also have elevations. So these, you can see I've got a lot of cabinets here. You can use it for that. We've also got our stair templates, and then we have showers and rooms as well. A lot of these I had created on my own, right? So if I have a lot of rooms that are square like this, this family room, for example, I can go in here, I can make it selected, tap on that information icon, and then go to miscellaneous. And then from miscellaneous, there's this option to save as a template. For rooms, you can choose if it's a room or if it's a shower. So you can have that set in a different location, where it's going to appear. And then you can have, a generic room label for it. So I don't need to do that for this example. I just wanted to show you how that was done. And then now we can take a closer look at this powder room and how to either add in those templates or draw the elevation there. We'll just start off with this vanity. So we can go into tools, go into free draw. Actually, sorry, just like free draw, but it's called elevation. If you tap on that question mark, it'll tell you it's good for cabinets, it's good for kitchen islands, tubs, etc. Really, really versatile. Anything that pretty much comes up out of the floor that removes the area underneath, you can use it for. Although we do have a feature where we can add it as kind of like a floating desk where it doesn't actually remove the flooring area underneath. And I'll show you that as well. But here we go. We can just drag and drop to place our point. We can bring it out to trace over the plan exactly where it goes, bring it back to the wall, and we see this dark blue line. So that essentially telling us that we've already measured this. We don't need to measure it twice. We can just go ahead, click on done at the top corner, or we can tap on close down here if we're ready to draw our next elevation. Since I'm just doing this one for now, I'll tap on done, and then I get this menu. So it is 3 feet in height, right? This is a vanity. It's going to come up about that high. If I'm drawing something unique, like if I'm doing a shower curb, it could be 4 inches. If I'm doing a half wall, it could be like 4 or 5 feet. The list goes on and on. So make sure you have that elevation set, where that needs to be. And now you can see that in this area, I have the flooring removed out from underneath there. If I come into the elevation, pretty much anything that you can select will have its own details menu. So this is room details. This is elevation details. We can tap on the wall. We have wall details. But for this elevation, we have this deduct ground or deduct walls. So right now, it's removing the area that's underneath of it. We're not going to be putting flooring there. We don't want to include that information in our estimation. So we're going to remove that. But if we did want to include it, maybe there's a stove that goes there and we're going to be installing under the stove, whatever it is, you can remove that. And then now you can see how that flows underneath. So we'll just put that back real quick. And we'll take a look at our walls. And we'll start taking a look at adding some of that tile on the wall. So if we go into views, this is a lot of that presentation, right, that we were talking about earlier, information versus presentation. So I don't have any of my dimensions up. So if I wanted to, I can turn those on. Now I've got a bunch more information. It might look a little busy, but that's from good information to have. I'll leave that off right now just to keep things clear. And then on the walls on the right side option is what we're looking for if we're going to want to work on our walls. So I do have this area selected. If I didn't have it selected and I tapped walls on the right side, because nothing is selected, nothing is happening, right? I can toggle it on and toggle it off. It might look like nothing's happening, but with this on, that blue check mark there, and then I tap on the room, I get these 4 walls, right? So it shows me that cutout for my elevation, for my vanity that I put on wall number 2. You can see it highlighted there since I got that selected. If I see wall number 4, it goes to wall number 4. If I tap on that, now that's highlighted. So it's pretty easy to see what's going on, and it does dim the area outside of it so we can focus on our working space. Inside here, let's say I wanted to do, maybe a couple different things. So I want to do a backsplash above the vanity, and I want to do an accent wall, along the rest of it. So I can do a couple different things. If I tap in here, I get a few different options. Wall stacks are going to be what we're looking for. And I always like to say you tap on what you need. So if I want a vertical wall stack, I can tap on vertical, and then I can limit it to the edges of that vanity. And then if I want a horizontal wall stack, I can tap on horizontal. And now when I drag and drop, I can place it maybe 6 feet from the floor, and then maybe like a 6-inch accent strip, something like that. So now I can be done with that. Maybe I want to include the same accent strip all the way around. So we can do, again, 6 feet and then 6 inches here. And I can absolutely come over here and I can, add that in without having to go into the tool every time. And now I'm using 2 fingers on the screen to pan. So that's within the tool. And then here's 6 inches again. But another utility, which is pretty neat, is you can copy this wall profile and paste it. So if you did intricate work and it carries on, throughout all of the other walls, then you can do that. You can apply it to everything. Here we have a backsplash, and we've already done the other 2 walls, so we're just going to do one more. We're just going to apply it instead of apply it to all. And then now we have that same accent strip going across there as well. And then I'm just going to make sure that that carries through on the other sides of this as well. I'm going to zoom in to get a little bit more control here. Just going to match those up. I think I missed the mark there. Not to worry. I can just drag and reposition this quite easily. Sorry, it's because I'm using my mouse, I swear. Yeah, if you're out there on the field, you're using your finger, that's the preferred tool. So don't worry if you don't have a mouse. That's more for you guys for today. So now that we've got, our outline done, now we can start adding in our products. So we'll open up our products. We're going to go to our catalog first. And then, I have it in list view. So it makes it really easy if I'm working with tile. I can just show all the tile that I want. And then I've built all these out ahead of time, right? So that's the first thing that you want to do if you're new to our program. So you're going to want to make sure that you're working with the materials that are unique to your business. And then we can just find what we need. So I don't know, let's do maybe this 6x1. We just drag and drop that in here for the bottom. And then we can do maybe a mosaic, maybe this 2x2. We can drag, and you can see the different areas that it's highlighting as I'm dragging it across the screen and whatever area I want it to go. So we'll just do that for the accent strip. And then maybe for the backsplash, we want some square tile. So we'll do maybe like a 6x6 square tile for that backsplash in here. And then I've got a couple different options, right? So let's say we don't have anything above that accent strip. It caps out. We got a bullnose up there. So that's all good to go. Maybe there's some wallpaper or something, but for now, we'll just leave it as it is. We can now take this, we can copy this wall profile, and if we paste it, you can see that it will come up with the same materials that are in there as well. So you can completely design the wall with the different guidelines and the products, and then you can carry all that information over just by making that adjustment here. So we do have a difference between the catalog and the assignment list. Whenever I can, I like to operate out of the assignment list. What it does is it gives you a short list of the products that you're using in your current project only. So this is this exact mosaic that I'm using. So I don't have to find that again. I can just drag this over and include that in those couple areas where that goes. And then I can do the same with this plank. And you may notice that there's no grid here, right? It's a plank, so I can't see my tile pieces. This is also a view setting. So if I come in views, and you'll see the reason why I did this, because it makes it easier to see what's behind here. But if we come down, we have a section for tile and hardwood. So we're just going to turn on product grid. It's a simple toggle. Now you can see I do have some tile laid down here. If we come in here, now we can see that mosaic. Now we can see the tile on the floor of the restroom, or the powder room rather. And then we can see that backsplash as well. And something really cool that we can do, maybe people like to use this for their customers as a kind of wow factor, but we do have a 3D image. With this room selected, I'm just going to display this room, but I could also display the whole project by not having anything selected. So we'll go into 3D. We'll show this off real quick. I will typically do a couple different things for the display. So I can come in here. I'm just going to move it out of position so I can take away this wall. And now when I look at this in 3D, I have an open wall that I can use to get a clearer vision of what's going on. Especially if I come into my options here, again, with all these toggles that we have that make your life really easy, you can make it not transparent. So I tend to find the contrast helps a little bit more. So you can see the backsplash over our vanity. You can see that accent strip going all the way around, and you can see all the different tile that we have in the powder room. So that's really awesome. I like that quite a bit. So we'll just turn that off. Now we can see everything that's behind there again. And now that's that's very simple, right? So I actually do want this back on because now we're going to dive into our patterns, right? So this is just a grid. If we want it to be ashlar, how do we do something like that? How do we get a brickwork pattern on our wall in place of what we have here? So if we're in our products and we're at our catalog, right? Just like we have, and we went over to objects, so we could see all of our different templates that we have available. On the far side, we have elevations. Sorry, not elevations, we have patterns. And inside our patterns, this is a library that we put together, right? So it has a lot of different availability, but there are certain limitations for our mobile program. So part of that is our ratios, right? So it's very hard to generate a pattern if you have some random element in there. So the random element would be the size of the tile, right? If it's not the same tile or it has a different ratio than the pattern that we have in our library, it's gonna be very difficult to generate. So for a lot of our patterns, like this ashlar here, is 1x2, right? So that's 2x4, that's 3x6, that's 5x10, that's 6 inches by 12. I think one of the more common ones right now is 12x24, right? So that would be this pattern here. And you can just drag the pattern like it was a product. You can add it to where it goes, and then you get this pattern menu. So there's a couple things here that you can do that will either that can make life a little bit easy or be a little bit more customizable with less setup. So the easy one is quick assign, right? It'll create a tile in whatever dimension that you have here. So you can resize this if you want to get whatever you need. So you only do one size, right? So 12x24 would be the length at 2 feet. So now we've got that 12x24 tile, and then we can quick assign. That'll add it in there. You can have that pattern displayed. And if you go to your assignment list, you can see we have this quick tile, right? So it made the tile to fit the pattern so that way you didn't have to have one ready. That's very easy. And then we can come in here, we can change the name, we can set it up, we can do our pricing, all that good stuff, nice and simple. Or if you already had something like that, we can come into the pattern, we can drag it in, and instead of doing quick assign, you'll notice done is grayed out, right? So there's a reason for that. We don't have a pattern, or we have the pattern, but we don't have the product assigned to it yet. So we can come in here right where this identifier is, this icon for, the shape of the tile. You tap on that, and then it'll give you a list of options that fit the ratio. So this is coming from our catalog. This is, all the products that we've created already. We have a few different options. We'll do this 6x10 or 6x12. And then now we have this rectangular tile number 3 that I've created. So it's already named. The pricing information is already filled out. It's good to go. And now we can see that done is here, and I can just tap on that, and now it's done. Something else that I see a little more often than I probably should is, let me actually get this wall back in here, and then I'll move this back into place, is I see people will drag in their tile pattern, they'll be happy with it, it's ready to go, and then they'll try to do it again from the library. So what this does is it creates another pattern, and you can use a different tile and a different size or even the same size. But it'll create another pattern, and it'll actually split your quantities into 2 different tiles. So if we want to keep everything the same, we can go to our assignment list, and up at the top, you can see our patterns. Here's that ashlar that we're using right now. We would drag this pattern in so that way we can keep our quantities all the same. If you notice, if we go back to our product, here's that rectangular tile number 3. I can expand that so I can see the whole name of that. And then we've got, it's looking like 356 square feet at the moment. Just for those, 3.5 walls. All right. So we don't need our walls on the right side anymore. We're done with the walls. And then we also don't need our product grid for the moment, so we can still see behind all our products. So this isn't by default. I did do an extra step. So while I'm thinking about that, might as well show you, right? So we aim to reveal all tips and tricks here. Again, we're going to go to the assignment list. We're going to go by the pattern. And if we come into the pattern, we go into the color, we have a transparency slider. I can never remember how to pronounce this, so I'm just going to say transparency. If you slide it more to the left at 0%, it's going to be more transparent. And then if you slide it more to the right, it's going to be 100% opaque. So that's kind of the idea there, and how I was able to get that nice and clean view through the product. All right, so now that we've got our tile, let's say, let's go to our stairs, and then after our stairs, we'll show some markups. So the stairs, they are templates, right? So we can go products, objects, stairs. I also have stairs on my quick access toolbar. So if I was in products, or I had it closed out, I can just come over here, tap on stair, and I go straight to my templates. So that's pretty helpful. That's something else that you can customize from your system settings. You just go into system settings, quick access toolbar. You can drag and drop, reorganize. You can add anything else that you want included in there. We have a few different options just to make your life a little bit easier and hopefully get that takeoff done just a little bit quicker. It's by using the toolbar over here. But these are templates that you use. When you drag them in, you get a pop-up window. So you can label it if you would like. But really, all the details is what we want to talk about today. So you'll have, however many steps you've got. We found that most stairs, they're going to be 4 foot wide. The tread depth is going to be about 11 inches, and the rise height is going to be about 7. I'm not sure why this is 11. I believe our default should be 7 inches for the riser. So hopefully that rings true for you guys on your iPad. But that's what we found, and that's kind of going to be the template that we've got. And then we have the covering style. So we see a lot of people using carpet on stairs. So we got this waterfall. It's going to be the most similar to something like a Hollywood covering style. So if you're, cascading down multiple steps at once, you're going to be doing the waterfall. If you're working with a different material on stairs, if you're doing like hardwood, for example, you're going to have tread and rise. And I'll show you the difference between those, as well as full wrap, right? If you got some floating stairs and you got to cover it all in one cut, we have an option for that as well. So if we come in here, this one actually doesn't have any material on it yet. So we'll go to this template, and if you set the layout direction for this as an option, you can see all the different cuts. So I've got my landing up at the top. I've got my first cut, which is 3, my second cut, which is 3 again, and then my last cut, which is just 2. And then you can see the different dimensions on those. And if I pull up on this tab, this gray tab down at the bottom, I can see that. So we were working with C2, C3, and C1. So that's our staircase here. If I zoom in, let me just open this a little bit more. If I zoom in, now I have room to display the text so I can read more information about it. So you can see that's that stair 1 right here. Having it cut every 3 steps is something that I set inside the details. So if we go inside here, that's going to be our steps per break. It's unique to the waterfall covering style, obviously. But if I want to do the stair in one shot, then I can match the steps to the steps per break. So I have 8 steps in this run. So I can do, let's go for 8 steps. So now I've changed the estimation, and already you can see that 1 through 8, it's now on a different cut. It's now E2 as opposed to C1, 2, and 3, and it's covering all of my stairs in that run. So you have a couple different options. It will affect your waist, so it's pretty important to know what you're doing there. And for this stair, right, I have a couple different templates. I have, some stairs coming up. I believe this is out of the basement. And then I have a landing. And then I have, like a doorway with more steps leading into the main area. So this is only 3. So I was able to change that in our details, right? Just 3 steps. Steps per break is 3 with the waterfall covering style because I'm working with carpet. So everything there checks out. Maybe this rise height I wasn't paying attention to. Also be very mindful, right? Sometimes we see people, they'll put feet instead of inches and then their estimation will be way off. So just make sure that you're putting the right dimensions in there. You tap on done, and then now we've got that changed, so that'll affect everything in here. So in our system settings, we have auto estimate. So that means all the changes that you're doing, all these adjustments that I'm making to my stairs, they're automatically appearing on the cut sheet. So that makes it so that way you're looking at the most up-to-date information. And I always recommend looking at the cut sheet for answers, right? So if I know, I'll show you some of our estimation settings. So this is our optimized menu from this information icon on the cut sheet, right? So this is just this carpet on this job. Right now, I've got a cut margin of 3 inches. So each of my cuts, they're going to have 3 inches more on the cut sheet, right? So for example, we'll go back into here to the set layout direction, and we can see it's 4 feet by 12 feet, or this one might be a little better, 4 feet by 4'7". So we can come in here and we can look at this again, zooming in if we don't have enough information. So it was 4 feet by 12 feet, right? Now it's 4 feet by 12'3". So there's that 3-inch cut margin at work. And then the other one, 4 feet by 4'7". Now it's 4 feet by 4'10". Again, that 3 inches coming in there, making sure we've got enough material for the installation. All right. So you'll notice that I have my template outside of where it goes, in the plan, right? So I could, tap on these and move these over. Let's see. I don't think I did a good job about that. Let me undo. Let me just make sure that I'm carrying these guys. Right. So I could do that. In this case, it doesn't overlap, so it's probably fine, right? But in a lot of cases, or maybe in some cases, you might have a pantry underneath there. You might be doubling up on flooring products in the same area. And if you notice, when we drag this over, it's a little bit hard to tell. I think because I have the transparency down, it's a little bit easier to tell that something weird is going on here. But I think clarity is always very, very important. So for that reason, we do recommend having your diagram, or at least your stair templates, off to the side. That way you can know for sure, okay, this is what's happening on the carpet. Maybe you have a divider, right? You can do this. Come out just the first few steps or whatever it is. Let's see, we'll go to my erasers, take that out, right? So maybe the stairs start here. So that this would be what that example is, right? So you can have it inside. You can still remove the flooring product that you need to. And then over here, you can put in some more material for that pantry or whatever you need that goes. Maybe there's a storage space underneath the stairs. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. But whatever is going to make it the most clear for you and for your install team. Just so that way they can have all that good information. And then the other thing is something that helps with communication, so our notes and our markups. If you go into tools, you have markups and annotations. So we've got our notepad here, and then we got our handwriting tools right next to it. So notes are pretty straightforward. You can just enter anything that you would like. So if I show my keyboard, I can type something in like basement stairs. If I can spell, we'll do stairs, basement stairs. And then Here's that thing that I was talking about as well. So save to list. If I know that I'm going to be working with stairs a lot, or I see it pop up commonly, and I find myself typing this in one too many times, I could just save it to the list and then, be done with it. Right now I do have done in that top corner, so I'm not out of the note tool just yet. You'll notice I don't see it anywhere on my screen. Again, it's just going to be a drag and drop. So I'm going to tap where my arrow goes, and I'm going to drag to where I'm going to place my lettering, and then that should be good enough. So I got a big arrow. Maybe if I want to edit this, I can adjust the size. So the font size is medium. Maybe I want that to be very large. Maybe that looks a little bit better or is a little bit easier to read. So I got the text over by where the stairs are, and then I got an arrow pointing to where they go. Hopefully that's enough. If it's not, we do have more markups and annotations. So here's that handwriting. This one can be a little bit unique to get used to. So maybe I want to draw, a little outline of where it goes. And then, I can circle this down here at the same time, and then I can hit done. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So I'm drawing over the top of my my plans and over my rooms. So I want to make sure my opacity is 0. I don't want any color to come through for the background. So that's there. I want that as transparent as possible. The line color, that arrow, wherever that's going, you can set the color for that. And then you can show the arrow or hide the arrow. I want that. I actually don't want an arrow on this one because the arrow is for my note. And then I don't want a border either. So that's all good. We'll hit done on there. And then now, maybe if anything, I want to maybe change the main color. So we'll come in here, we'll tap on this. We can edit it from the details. Maybe the writing pen color wasn't good enough. So we can do, maybe black might pop out a little more. So there you can see that change. So that could be pretty useful. I'm not the best artist, so please don't fault me on that front. But yeah, with the handwriting tool, you can achieve a lot more. And you can notice how everything, when I drew it at once, it's all part of the same thing. So if I move it, it all comes together. I think that's important to know. It's not really helpful or a detriment. I think it just depends on how you use it. But that's really all I had for the demo today. Just kind of go back to our slide deck here. All right, so our support is probably one of our more strong points here at MeasureSquare. We've got a world-class support team. Our staff is very knowledgeable. They know all of our different products. We really can't stress enough, like the best way to get a hold of us is just to give us a call. We don't really have a long wait queue. We don't give you to like a robot for assistance. You do talk to a real person when you call in. And we like to continue that well into the future. So we're really happy with everyone that does call in. Please continue to do so. And we encourage everyone else that maybe might be on the fence about calling in to go ahead and give us a try. We also have some great self-learning if maybe that's not your cup of tea. So we have been working with some new technology. We got some AI that we've been developing for you. So that can be found on our main website. There's a little like chat icon down in the bottom right-hand corner of MeasureSquare.com where you can fill out some information and give our AI a try. What's nice about that is it's available at all hours of the day. It doesn't take breaks, never gets sick. It's there on the weekends and the holidays. Honestly, really hard to compete with that. So if you don't mind giving that a try, we do monitor that as well. So you can be assured that you're going to get a great response from it. And then as a technology forward company, we do like to stay ahead of the curve where we can, but we can't really do that without our community. You guys have been really great. We've been really blessed with all the feedback that we get from you guys and all the industry insights that we're able to implement into our program and add that value so that way we can both have a great time with our work, right? Because it's a large part of our lives. And then lastly, we do have some extra time here for some Q&A. I see a few in the chat. Looks like Kevin's been doing a great job answering. We're also on Facebook. So if you want to give that QR code a scan, follow us on Facebook. That'll be great. It's really for like-minded professionals. So, success stories, maybe finding out different workflows, or, a lot of the people there have come from the same background as you. Whether you're coming from pen and paper or you're coming from another estimating software, there's going to be somewhere there who's been right in your shoes that would probably be, of great assistance to you. So it's really a great place to be. I can't recommend it enough. So I'm just going to read some questions from the list here. We haven't gotten to everything yet. So I see one of the more recent ones. Is there a way when you're doing proposals that we can have transitions listed as each as opposed to linear? Because we need to do both to have an order transitions and moldings and piece, but when we need the linear footage to know how many pieces we need. So that's a great question. I think there may be a couple different answers to that. What we can do is we can create boxes essentially for our items. So you can do the linear feet and you can tell the program how many linear feet comes in a piece. And then you can have that extrapolate how many different pieces you need for the linear feet that you're covering. So you can also do it the count item way. So we do have a count item. You can place it maybe in each doorway or each wall, or however you want to do that. You can use our segment tool. There's really a lot there that we can dive into, and we'd be happy to find the solution that works best for you. But yeah, I think my first thought would be to use that sell by box area that's built inside the product catalog, and then add the coverage amount and make sure that you can have that automatically calculate for you. Okay. Looks like Kevin has been doing a great job answering a lot of these. Okay, awesome. Yeah, super great. If there's any other questions, you guys want to take a second to type those out, I can answer those. But it does look like Kevin got to everyone. I've been very happy to share everything that I had with you guys today. We'll be doing more webinars, so be sure to check us out on our main website. We did put up kind of like a calendar list, with all our different products on there. So just go to MeasureSquare.com. I believe it's under resources. We have webinar links there. Go ahead and register for them. If you don't have the time, don't worry about it. We just like to see you there so we can send you that reminder and hope that you don't miss out. So really happy to be here and continue to do these for you. So I see another question from Stephen or Stefan. Sorry if I got that wrong, but he's asking if there's any in-person workshop classes available. So we do have some available. We typically recommend our online classes. They're still instructor-led. They're kind of one-on-one. It's about the same price range, maybe even cheaper depending on how many people you were thinking having attend. And then also you get the recordings from the session, right? So you can keep that for however long you need. That'll be invaluable for hiring more workers into the future. So the recordings, I think, are the value for the training. But if you definitely want to come in, we can speak more about that. We can see when a good time for us to set that up with you would be. So we'll just be here maybe for a couple more minutes. Be sure to get those questions in so we can answer them on the webinar. If not, you can always contact us, support@measuresquare.com. Again, all of our support information is baked into our software. So if you go to your account information all the way at the bottom, you can find us there. If not, it's at the bottom of the screen right now. You can see the email there and our phone number. That's 626-683-9188, extension 3 for support. Hopefully that'll help maybe save you a minute or two when you do call in. You just tap on that number 3, and then you'll get connected with an agent. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. Um, So we'll kind of wrap things up here. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone that's still with us for attending. It's been great being able to share with you MeasureSquare Mobile, especially some of the multifamily side. We're able to import those drawings and scale them, and kind of use that as a guide to go through our estimation process. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk to you next time.